Hi everyone, haven't been live in a while, but I wanted to hop on today just to talk about something pretty interesting and pretty important that I've actually seen a lot of persons, business owners, especially my clients or coaches, struggling with, right? And that is it's either you don't know your limits or you don't maintain your time limits, right? And that causes you to you become overwhelmed, right? Because you basically bite off more than you can actually chew. Now, before, I think I landed on this topic because, sometimes when you have overcome something, you kind of think that, I don't longer struggle with that. And last week, I had an incident where I had a conversation with a friend and I ended up committing to do something that when I looked back at it, when I looked at what I had planned for the rest of the week, I quickly realized that, even though I'd said yes to doing that thing, I couldn't do it because it would have meant going beyond the time limit and the boundaries that I had around what I can and can't do, right? And the thing is, you might hear this story and think to yourself that, that's not me because I only say yes to things I should actually be doing. But one of the things that I've actually noticed with the clients that I work with, and even with some of my friends who are coaches, is that they will say, for example, I want to be able to serve a certain amount of clients within a certain period of time, right? Say, for example, I want to serve 25 clients. I want 25 clients, right, for my 6 months program, right? And the truth of the matter is that when they look at what they need to do to serve those clients, those 25 clients, they are over capacity. They are over their limits. They're over their time limits. There's no way they can do it because they only have 24 hours in a day. And if you're only planning to work 25 hours per week, there's no way you can actually serve. Many of them can't serve that 25 clients that they would have aspired to have, right? Another simple example that I've also seen is where you pack your day full to get certain things done. I mean, you may have started out with a light enough week, but then things happen and things keep shifting. And before you know, you end up with a day or even a week that's jammed packed full. And you end up serving your clients from a place of feeling overwhelmed, feeling exhausted, right? And on top of feeling exhausted, you're also serving them with brain fog because you're like, oh my God, you cannot wait. In your brain, you're like, you can't wait for the day to be finished. And so what ends up is in either these extremes, you find that you miss issues, you miss things that eventually turn out into issues that you have to solve with your clients. You end up finding out that you have to rob Peter to pay Paul because you only have so much time to serve your clients while at the same time being able to balance your family duties, your personal obligations to yourself, and so forth. And because you end up being over capacity when it comes to serving your clients, you have to take from the time that you would have had for those other commitments and put them towards serving your clients, right? And so when I talk about knowing your limits, right, I encourage you to actually not only just say that you only plan to work 25 hours for the week or however amount of hours you want to actually work on serving clients or work in your business, but I encourage you to do two things, right? And this will actually help you to get client success without burning yourself out. One is knowing what your true limit is, right? You may have 25 hours to work in your business on a weekly basis, but it doesn't mean that that entire 25 hours is actually for serving clients, right? And so for me is if you have a service that you're offering to a client, you need to at least be able to have an estimate of exactly how much time it will actually serve one client or take to serve the 25 if you want to go for 25, right? I remember I had a client who she aspired to do that 25 clients across the 6 months. And when we actually did the math around her step-by-step guide, in terms of breaking down her program to see exactly what her true capacity was, she realized she could only do 12. Right? And she ended up being okay with that, because she realized that if she had gone off to go sell to 25 people and actually gotten those 25 people in her program, she would have run into issues when it came down to serving them, which would have led to her missing things. Right? Now, after you know what your limit is, the second thing to do is actually maintain your limits. And I think this is where a lot of us fall down, especially when we really, really care about serving others, when we care about serving our clients, when we care about ensuring that our clients are getting results, etc. We fall down on maintaining our time limits, maintaining the limits that we have set. And what do I mean by that? Right? If you have only a certain amount of time to actually give to a certain amount of thing, you have to be careful with your yes and your no's, right? You have to be careful with who you're saying yes to, who you're saying no to, right? And this is why I always talk about the fact that even screening your clients to ensure that you're working with the people who will actually make the most of your time, right? Work with the clients who are so prepared to work with you and will actually get the results and in the time frames that you have set, that you won't need to go rob from Peter to pay Paul, right? You'll actually be able to maintain your limits. Now, the second area that I always talk about in terms of maintaining your limits is when it comes down to monitoring how your clients are doing, monitoring how they're processing, they're making their way through your service or your program, so that you're able to get very proactive about avoiding issues and handle them up front before they actually become fires or last minute issues that you now have to turn around and find time to handle, right? And the thing is, I think it's so important to monitor, maintain and know your limits, right? I was reading something in the Bible this morning, in Psalms 190, Psalms 119, right? And it says that everything has limits. And the thing is, if we don't know what our limits are, we'll keep giving away too much to the fact where we don't have anything left for ourselves. And for me, that's a big no-no, because I don't believe in over-serving. I don't believe in overworking. I don't believe in over-delivering at the expense of you, at the expense of ourselves, right? I mean, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? And that's why it's so important to actually know your limits, one, and ensure that you are maintaining those limits as you serve others, as you help others to get results. You have to know the limits. You have to know your time limits. You have to maintain those time limits so that you don't end up pouring from an empty cup, right? So that's it from me. I hope you have a great day.